At number 5, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, here's what I love. I love the wide receivers in the secondary. It's very, very simple. And I think if you look at both collectively, they could have a top 5 wide receiver group in America and a top 5 secondary by season's end. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, in the secondary if they're in the top 2, maybe the top 3, maybe even the top spot overall. They have so much experience back there and they have so much talent in the back end defensively. Let's start with the wide receivers, though. Ryan Williams, outside of Jeremiah Smith, I think most people would look at Ryan Williams as the second best game-breaking wide receiver in America this year. Going into his second year, figuring out getting bigger, getting more physical, getting stronger, and now the ability to slide into his more natural position of flanker, Z, strong side wide receiver. That's exactly where he can really excel to the point in which he becomes a multi-time All-American in his first 2 years on campus. Isaiah Horton, his addition, who was the number 2 receiver at Miami last year, his addition to the more traditional X position where he's going to be the weak side, isolation wide receiver, he's a matchup problem. A guy that's going to win a lot of one-on-ones, can go up and make those contested catches in the red zone. Last year, Alabama at wide receiver was a little undersized. They didn't have great length. They didn't have guys that were able to go up and win that super physical 50-50 ball. Isaiah Horton is now that guy, which allows Jeremy Bernard to slide more into the slot and kind of be a versatile piece that can motion, that can give you the jet sweep, that can line up in the backfield, slide out to the slot, and create a matchup problem. Those 3 by themselves have a chance to be one of the best trios in all of college football. Then you look at some of the depth that they have. You got Cole Adams. He's back from injury, should be a really solid slot receiver. They love Jalen Hale. And there's tons of buzz about a redshirt freshman named Rico Scott, who a lot of people believe is on the cusp of a potential breakout year. So you can go 5, 6, 7 deep at wide receiver for Alabama and whoever their quarterback ends up being. But on the other side of the ball in the secondary, man, last year, this was the biggest question mark on the entire roster. Now it's probably their biggest strength. You bring back Damani Jackson, who had a chance to go pro, decided to return. You bring back Bray Hubbard, who had a breakthrough year last year because when Keon Sabb got hurt, Bray Hubbard stepped in, had a highly productive season there as a first-year starter. Keon Sabb is now back healthy. He played most of the year last year with an injured foot. He ends up breaking that foot against Tennessee and was lost for the year. But the fact that he played most of last season on one leg tells you what this guy might be capable of. And then Zabian Brown, who had a really good freshman year, could take a big leap as a lockdown corner. You add Cam Calhoun from Utah. He is going to be a great depth piece there as a nickel. I think all over the place. They can go 10 deep in the back end. And that was not at all something they could do a year ago. That's probably their deepest position and maybe their most talented position. Here's what concerns me about Alabama is compared to the best versions of Alabama, compared to the roster of 2015, the roster of 2016, the roster of 2020, 18, all those teams that were always in the mix for a national championship, they had unbelievable depth. This year's team does not have the same type of depth that they've had in the past when they've won national championships. And last year, Alabama kind of quietly got hit with the injury bug. Quay Russaw, their outstanding pass rusher, looked really good in the first couple games, and then against Wisconsin, he gets banged up and is kind of dealing with some injuries throughout the season. They lost Deontay Lawson to a knee injury in the midway point. The defense wasn't quite the same. They lost Keon Sabb, who I referenced already, there in the back end. They lost Quandarius Robinson, who is an outstanding pass rusher in his own right, to a broken arm late in the year. They lost Cole Adams. And those are the guys that missed significant time. The guys I just listed doesn't include the number of guys that were playing far below 100% because of nagging injuries that they suffered throughout the season. There were several guys that couldn't even practice because they were so banged up, yet they had to play on Saturday because they didn't have the depth. And they knew that if they were out, there would be a significant drop-off from the starters to the backups. And it was really noticeable last year, and understandable too, by the way, with all the portal exits after Saban's retirement, that when the starters got hurt, there was a bigger drop-off than what you would expect when watching Alabama. I think they're better equipped to manage it this year, but in the event in which they have a similar injury year to what they had a year ago, they could get really young in a hurry. So that's something that you have to be mindful of. I think their starting 22 has as strong a case as anybody in college football to be one of the best in America. Their starting 22 is outstanding. And if they stay healthy across the board, do not be surprised this team is contending again for a national championship. But if they get banged up the way they did a little bit last year, then that level of play could drop off a little bit, and that could lead to an unforeseen loss at some point throughout the season.